So, you want to know how to play Phantom and study the blade properly, eh? Well then, you asked for my advice, and I shall give it to you. This is the study of the blade. To start off this chapter, we might as well know what Phantom's background is, and to do that, we must read his profile, which used to be featured on the official Dirty Bomb website, but they removed it for some reason. Willing to do anything to get rid of him, his commanding officer volunteered Phantom to take part in an experimental refractive armor test program. Returning the favor, Phantom promptly stole the suit and used it to plant incriminating evidence/livestock in his former commanding officer's quarters. Since then, he has been a legend in his own mind. Never ever lend him money or your mobile phone. Now here is where it gets a little funny. A powerful recon operative. Oh, this is gonna be great. A powerful recon operative who uses his refractive armor to disappear on the battlefield. He can easily reposition himself even under enemy observation, allowing him to attack without warning. His main weapon is the element of surprise. Forces enemies to constantly watch their backs. Suits the lone wolf type. Now, there is a couple of things I want to know about this description of Phantom. First thing that makes me chuckle is the first line. A powerful recon operative. Well, thing is, he used to be powerful back when he was first released. Problem was, he was too fucking powerful, and is probably one of the main causes of Dirty Bomb's low player count. That's how OP he was. The developers of Dirty Bomb pretty much gave him a sledgehammer nerf and also nerfed the melee turn speed, which, no offense to the developers of Dirty Bomb, was possibly one of the stupidest fixes to a game I've ever seen. Also, if he is a so-called recon, why the hell does he not have a recon ability, unlike the others? Recons are supposed to spot enemies for their team, right? Why the hell does Phantom not have that? Instead, we get an EMP area of effect ability added to our cloak, which actually works against Phantom because... Let's move on. He can easily reposition himself even under enemy observation. This is definitely not the case anymore, unfortunately. An experienced Dirty Bomb player such as myself and many others can easily spot him while in cloak for 3 reasons. 1. His cloak is simply not good enough and does not make him fully invisible. Just kinda transparent and wavy, if that makes sense. The cloak becomes even more obvious when he's jumping or moving around. 2. His cloak makes an audible noise. It's too damn loud when he's trying to reposition himself, hence making him easier to spot. 3. His EMP ability, while useful in some situations, works against him, because the players notice that the deployables are not working, and because of that, they know that the Phantom is around. Now, you may be asking yourself, why the hell do you main this guy then? Well, it's simple. He's fun to play as, for me. And due to my love of all things stealth, makes Phantom pretty much my main and most played mercenary in the game despite his numerous flaws. In my opinion, Phantom is currently the second hardest character to play as in this game effectively, with Sparks being first, which is why this tutorial is going to be difficult to finish for me, but I am going to try my best. So what is Phantom's current role in the game as of the time this video uploads? Well, think of it like this. Phantom is basically Bushwhacker, except he's not an engineer and he does not have a turret. Instead, you get a mediocre cloak that is difficult to use effectively, and with it comes an EMP effect for other deployables, which disables them momentarily. He's not a recon, he's not an engineer, he's not a medic, and he's not even a fire support. So what the hell is he then? Well, he's just Phantom. guy who can kill deployables momentarily and kill other mercenaries using his chosen submachine gun, pistol, and most importantly, his blade. That is what he is right now, and unless Phantom gets overhauled / buffed in some way, it is, in my opinion, borderline suicide and foolish to play as him competitively. Which means I'm the perfect man for the job! Before we even begin to discuss how to use the blade as much as you want to know, we need to discuss something that is more important than the blade, and that is your gun. I may have said this before, but there is a fine line between Phantom players. Ones that use the gun, and ones that don't. The actual core of Dirty Bomb itself is fast-paced shooting objective gameplay. And if you are going to survive and climb that scoreboard and actually win matches, you need to know how to use the guns available. I will give you one piece of advice right now that every player in the game should take, is to always aim for the head of your enemies. To put it simply, headshotting in this game is almost a necessity if you want to kill enemies fast. It's kill or be killed here, so you better be good at aiming, otherwise you are going to die. A lot. Also, aiming down the sights of your guns is only good if your weapon spread goes crazy or if the target is far away from you. It is generally better to hip fire more in this game rather than aiming down the sights. Before we get into how I use the gun on Phantom, let's discuss what guns he has access to. I'll discuss loadouts as well, but for now, let's look at his primary weapons, which is not the goddamn blade! No, his primary weapons are all submachine guns. The first one I want to talk about is the Blishlock, or as I like to call it, the Bitchlock. It has a slow rate of fire and does particularly devastating headshot damage, not so much body damage, which means if you are going to use this weapon, those headshots are definitely needed. One thing I notice a lot about this weapon whenever I use it is that sometimes the weapon spread while hip firing can go completely bonkers, and you might miss your target a lot, which is why with this weapon, aiming down the sights is also advisable to use with this weapon. Also, just a tip, you should leave your crosshair on even while aiming down the sight. Trust me, it helps out a lot, particularly with this gun. Another thing I noticed about this weapon is its ammo, which seems to run out on me at the worst times. If you have a Blishlock loadout that has the spares augment, you won't really notice this problem. Now I shall discuss my main Blishlock Phantom loadout, which is the 2nd edition BL54 Premium Operative. The reason why I mainly use this one is because it has 3 important augments, which are spares, which gives me an extra magazine for the Blishlock, Quick Flash for the blade, which increases melee / swing speed, and Quick Draw, which increases weapon switch speed. It also has the Deagle, which is a good sidearm, but it's not as powerful as the revolvers, but it's close, and it still does decent damage when you aim for the head. Next up is the Krotzny. The Krotzny is a pretty decent gun, in my opinion, and I use it mostly when I'm playing Phoenix. But for Phantom, I don't really use it all that much, because I personally think the Keck 10 is better. But hey, it's just personal preference, so there's nothing wrong with using the gun, per se. However, while I was researching for this video, I pretty much discovered why I don't really use the Krotzny all that much, and that is simply because none of its loadouts have Quick Slash or Chopper, and a katana that goes with them, which is important to me, so that's probably the reason why I don't use it that much in comparison to the Keck 10. With that said, I don't really have a personal preference for like a loadout, but I will mention 2 of them. First is the 2nd edition CR54 Revised Operative, which does have the katana but no augments for it. Instead, this loadout is actually really good for gun style Phantoms because of its augments. While Unshakable only reduces explosive damage slightly, the other 2 augments improve the Krotzny, which are Spares and Drilled, which reduces the already short reload time, which means you can be very effective with the Krotzny with this loadout. I should really use it more. The other one I want to mention is CR94, which again does not have any augments that affect the katana, but does have 3 useful augments. Undercover, which slightly extends the cloak duration, Mechanic, which is very useful if you want to be a budget engineer to repair objectives, and Bomb Squad, which makes deployables like Amy's Snitch more visible to you so you can get rid of them. Now last, and certainly not least, is the Keck 10. The Keck 10 is my second most used weapon in the game, and for good reason. This gun has a decent magazine size and has fast rate of fire. There's a decent amount of damage too, well slightly less than the Krosny, but not too much. I love using this gun on any mercenary, and Phantom is no different. Don't really have any negative things to say about this, because it rarely lets me down in game. Now for my favorite Phantom loadout card, which is C64, also known as the Commodore 64. It has Quick Slash to go with my katana, Guardian Angel to protect myself from enemy air supports, and Drilled for the Keck 10. It also has the Simeon 357 revolver, which is kind of in the middle when it comes to Phantom's pistols. So that's the loadouts I use for each gun respectively. Now before I end this video, I'll give you some quick tips related to gun style Phantom. Make sure you are not jumping around too much when using guns. Hip firing while wall jumping, which I will cover in the next video, and jumping in general becomes kind of a gamble, because it sort of screws up the hip fire weapon spread, which means you might miss and get aim punched to death. Speaking of aim punch, while it is not as aggressive as it used to be, aim punch can screw up your weapon spread if you are shot upon first by the enemy, so make sure you are the one shooting first, or else you will be, as I would say, aim punched to death. The Hawkfear is particularly good at causing significant aim punch due to its rate of fire. I cannot stress this enough, but please prioritize using the gun instead of the blade for most fights, unless it's another Phantom, then you might as well pull out your weave sticks. Consider distance when it comes to engagement. Since you only have an SMG, it will be harder for you to kill an enemy if he is further away from you, which is why you should get close to the enemy, but not as close as blade style. Even though I said earlier that jumping around will hurt your hipfire spread, it won't hurt your ADS spread too much. So if you are doing monkey style, make sure you are aiming down the sights at least to land those shots. This will be something that will take practice. If your SMG runs out of magazine ammo, it's mostly better to pull out your pistol, or if the enemy is close enough, your blade to finish them off rather than reload. Never engage in a 2-on-1 firefight by yourself. You will lose the fight most of the time, so try and take them out one by one instead. This goes for blade style too. If you have less than a magazine left for your primary, immediately seek ammo by either stabbing friendly skyhammers repeatedly or find an ammo crate. Thanks for watching, and yes, this is going to be another long series, but hey, if I'm going to talk about a topic such as this, I have to go really in depth to help you better understand how to improve as Phantom and Dirty Bomb. Part 2 will be worked on if I have any free time, and it will probably feature Chapter 3 Monkey Style, which is related to movement as Phantom, and Chapter 4 Blade Style. Later, Dirty Bombers, and don't forget to study the blade.